The large and in charge Mr. Olympia Expo cycle is done and dusted, and now it's time for Operation Gyno. Yes, I'm going to attempt to grow as much gynecomastia tissue as possible for my planned gynecomastia surgery in January of 2025. In this video, we'll compare the blood work results to the end of the Trembling Sandwich Mr. Olympia Expo cycle to the blood work results from the first week of the Operation Gyno cycle containing testosterone enanthate, nandrolone decanoate, testosterone acetate, and anadrol, all without the use of an aromatase inhibitor. So put your left hand on your favorite box of Raloxifene, baby, otherwise you might get yourself some gynecomastia while watching this video. Vigorous Steve here, finally back into the groove of bodybuilding and recording videos here regularly on YouTube after my 10-day trip to Las Vegas to join in on the Mr. Olympia madness. People told me I look huge, way bigger than I do here on YouTube, so I moved the camera back a little bit so you can see these cannons in action. So I guess the cycle was a success, so much of a success though, that I ended up at 253 pounds by the time I hit Fremont Street and I stepped on the scale of the Heart Attack Grill. I think I left Thailand at around 235 pounds, and then as soon as I landed in Las Vegas and started eating all that amazing food that Las Vegas has to offer, too much good food not to eat, over the course of 10 days I gained, close to 15, 18 pounds. Madness. So I got a little bit chunky, and I fasted for a couple days after I came back to Thailand. I lost a little bit of the water bloat, obviously, but the damage has already been done. So now going forward, I'm going to embrace the fluff. Yes, first off season in the last couple of years. I already did an ultrasound of all of my organs. I have no signs of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. I don't have any issues with the other organs in my body. So that's all done and dusted, all confirmed and solidified for the next couple of months. So I feel that there's some wiggle room for me to increase the calories and get out of this perpetual dieting phase, because I've been going through this perpetual roller coaster of trying to be in a caloric deficit the entire time that I'm here in Thailand, with a free meal, a little bit of a cheat meal over the weekend. And then I keep dieting and dieting and dieting. I get leaner and leaner and leaner. By the time I hit the holiday, which in this case was Las Vegas, I'm in a good position, body composition wise. And then as soon as I start eating, I get fat and everything falls apart. And then I have to start dieting again for the next holiday. So I'm kind of sick of that roller coaster. What I'm going to do going forward is slowly bring up my calories, improve weaker body parts. And then hopefully by the time I hit the Arnold Classic in March 2025, the gynecomastia surgery has already been resolved, and that's done and dusted by that time also. And my metabolism is so high that I should put myself in a nice position to actually start dieting for the end of 2025. So that's the road plan going forward. The next couple of months, I'm just going to focus on size and boosting my metabolism. And then maybe the next time I hit the Fremont Street Heart Attack Grill, I'm actually 300 pounds and I can get myself a free meal. So for the next couple of months, my face is going to get rounder and rounder and rounder, as many of you guys have already been reminding me of the last couple of weeks that was on a high dose growth hormone. Steve, why is your face so big? Steve, why is your face so round? Don't worry, buddy. It's going to get a whole lot worse. For the guys that remember my YouTube channel back in 2018, 2019, or 2020, 2021, right around, pandemic time, how big my face was. Yes, I'm going to bring that back, assuming that my health parameters stay good all the way through. So the first couple of months, I'm going to focus on growing this gynecomastia tissue up until Christmas of December 2024. I'll go to New Zealand for Christmas to kind of relax and, maybe visit Hobbit Town, something like that, eat a boatload of food there, maybe drink some ales, right? Let's see what's available. So I'm going to grow as much gynecomastia tissue up until that point, come off, right? Do a little bit of a clean out, a little bit of a cruise to prepare for the surgery, because you don't want too much performance-enhancing drugs in your system when you're undergoing surgery, and then start a aggressive healing protocol with BPC 157, TB 500, GHK copper, growth hormone, obviously, and perhaps Anavar. I'll see how bad the incisions are, and a boatload of collagen, hyaluronic acid, vitamin C to help deal with the surgery, the incisions, and recover as fast as possible. Don't worry, I'll document all of it, even though I have very extensive videos about this topic already on my YouTube channel. So I'll do the gyno surgery in the first week or second week of January 2025. Around that time, I'll probably also do LASIK eye surgery because my eyes are getting worse and worse and worse, and I'm just tired of wearing glasses. So I'm going to schedule that at the same time, and I might even remove the plate in my leg after the motorcycle accident I had over a decade ago. That's still in there, so I might as well remove everything at the same time and get all these surgeries out of the way, and then have a 6 to 8 week recovery. At least by the time I hit the Arnold Classic in March 2025, I should be fully recovered from the gyno surgery, the LASIK eye surgery, and perhaps the leg surgery, removing the plate in my leg, so I should be able to walk. Will I look good by the time I hit the Arnold Classic? Probably not. I'll probably look like a bloated, fluffy, terrible mess. But after going to the Arnold Classic or the Mr. Olympia Expo, seeing that some influencers also look like a bloated, fluffy, terrible mess, I'm not going to be the only one. So maybe we can do a little group, a picture of various stages of the Michelin Man or the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, right? Fingers crossed, everything goes well. If I don't do the leg surgery, just the gyno surgery and the LASIK eye surgery, then obviously maybe 6 to 8 weeks after the surgery, I can start dieting. But that's already the time that I have to fly to Las Vegas with a stopover to Columbus, Ohio. The trip is as follows. I'll go to Las Vegas first for 3 days, then fly to Columbus, Ohio for 3 days because it's a 3-day expo. Then I'll probably hit up Chase Irons in Chicago for a collaboration again. It's been long overdue. And then afterwards, I'll go to Los Angeles for some more collaborations there. So the trip is going to take about 10, 12 days in total, flying with business class this time, so I can hit the ground running as soon as I arrive in Las Vegas and hit the ground running as soon as I arrive back home in Bangkok, because flying economy at 250 pounds, never again. Yeah, I'm still recovering from the previous trip. But then again, when I went to Las Vegas this time, it was 3 activities per day. So it was a gym session, it was shopping or meeting people, and then another dinner somewhere and just running around. And I'm still kind of exhausted, but I'm getting back into the groove going forward. Now, as I'm growing this gynecomastia tissue, right, this is where we are right now. It's already pretty big, and it feels a little bit sensitive to the touch, but I'm sure it's going to get a lot worse over the next couple of months. While I'm growing this gyno and taking tests in nandrolone, trestolone, anadrol, and perhaps dianabol on top of that, I'm going to focus on my chest and my quads. Up until the Mr. Olympia, I've been following a typical 5-day bro split. On Monday, I would train chest and triceps. On Tuesday, quads and calves. Wednesday, take a day off, recover from the brutal leg day the day before. On Thursday, I would train shoulders and triceps again. So that's 2 tricep workouts over the week. Low volume, but high intensity, right? And focusing on time under tension, all that good stuff. On Friday, I would train hamstrings, glutes, adductors, and calves again. Again, high intensity, but low volume. Calves twice per week, just like triceps, twice per week. And then on Saturday, I would do back, traps, rear delts, and biceps, which is the end of the week. It doesn't really matter. My biceps and lats, as you can see, it's big enough, right? So I can skip that for the next 6 months if I wanted to, because that comes back like this. Even looking at weights, thinking about doing rear delt flies and dumbbell rows will keep my back nice and full where it is. And focusing on quads and chest going forward, I'm sure with the amount of weights that I'm going to be moving, just locking myself into the leg press, that's probably enough bicep stimulation and trap stimulation and rear delt and back stimulation for that muscle to stay nice and full as I'm focusing on weaker body parts. So the training split is going to be as follows going forward. On Monday and Thursday, I will train chest with a little bit of tricep and shoulder ancillary work. And then on Tuesday and Friday, I will train quads with a little bit of hamstring, calf, and perhaps adductor and glute ancillary work, but mostly focusing on chest and mostly focusing on quads. All of the calories will go to chest and quads, and then fingers crossed, even though I'm old, 41 years old, I can actually improve my quads and restore them to their previous glory of actually matching my upper body. That's what I want, because right now the quads are a little bit behind, and being in a caloric deficit all this time, doing all this cardio and walking in between sets and 10,000 steps over the day and not taking so much performance-enhancing drugs anymore, even though the list of performance-enhancing drugs is long, the dosages are all reasonably low. Low calories and a lot of steps is not good for muscle growth in the lower body, so I'm going to do the exact opposite. Yeah, less steps and more food, which means Steve is going to be fluffy for the next 6 months. Deal with it. Now, during this time, of course, I will still do my daily fasted cardio at least 30 minutes upon waking, right after a cup of coffee and a couple injections to kind of get the day started. I'll switch between or alternate between the treadmill and the elliptical, or maybe 20 minutes elliptical and then 10 minutes treadmill, depending on how I feel, because when you train quads 2 times per week, that means lower body is always going to be sore. So however long I can stand on the elliptical, finishing off on the treadmill for a total of 30 minutes. I'll get about 5,000 steps in over the day, some of which are going to occur during the workout. I'll still do walking in between sets like I always do to kind of avoid all the people wanting to ask me drug questions and getting a little bit of additional air besides the helicopter fans that are in the muscle factory, because, well, as body weight is going up, the internal body temperature is also going up. And even though the temperature outside is going down, sweating buckets, bet your ass I am, right? Drinking 3 liters of water during the workouts and still feeling dehydrated. So I'm going to have to make some changes regarding my hydration and electrolyte levels, because the sweating right now is obscene, having a little bit more body fat and eating a lot more calories than I did before. I already increased from 2,500 to about 3,300 over the day, right? It's a bit of a significant jump, but after I saw what I looked like after coming back from Las Vegas and seeing that the damage is already done, I'm just going to embrace the fluff again and just grow over the next couple of months, trying to bring my calories up to about 5,000 per day. Right now, I'm about 110 kilos upon waking after bathroom evacuation. So that's 242 pounds without any shit in my intestinal tract. That's dead weight. Morning weights, maybe if you want to count a cup of coffee, 250 milliliters, 250 grams, give or take, right? But 240 pounds solid upon waking. And it wouldn't surprise me if I end up at 115 kilos, which is 253 pounds, or 120 kilos, 264, 265 pounds over the next couple of months that I'm intending to grow, right? And hopefully most of that size is not going to be body fat, but it's actually going to be significant muscle tissue on my chest and quads. Those are the only 2 body parts that I feel like improving. I think my triceps could use a little bit of work. Maybe I'll get some additional stimulation on the triceps as I'm focusing on chest twice per week with some ancillary tricep work after finishing the chest sets, right? I'll do 6 sets for chest, maybe 2-3 sets for triceps, and then 1 or 2 sets for shoulders, or the working sets, not including the warm-up sets, right? I might do a couple back-off sets here and there, but not too much volume, just focusing on high intensity, high quality reps, time under tension. And then the first workout of the week, I'll probably focus on the 10 to 12 rep range. And then the second workout of the week, probably focus on 6 to 8, right? To get a little bit of different rep ranges, stimulate different muscle fiber types. And of course, in the beginning of the week, I'm fully glycogen loaded from the weekend, eating a boatload of foods, which is I'm already getting less desire to eat a boatload of food because I'm eating so much food over the week. And the same for quads. I'd probably do like 6 working sets, including back-off sets for quads, maybe 2-3 for hamstrings, and then 2-3 for calves. And then if I feel like it at the end of the workout, maybe do 1 or 2 sets for adductors or glutes. High reps at the beginning of the week and medium moderate reps at the end of the week when glycogen levels are already depleting, because I'm following a ketogenic diet. We'll get into that at the end of this video. So without further ado, let's get into the cycles that I was running. So you guys know how to interpret the blood work results, because we're going to compare blood work results about a month apart. One is the cycle containing the Trenbolone sandwich, and the other one contains, well, all the progestogenic 19-nors besides Trenbolone, in order to grow the gyno tissue as efficiently as possible. And before we continue, from now on, I'm just going to mention exactly which brands I've been using, whether that's pharmaceutical grade or generics or underground labs or gray area peptide websites, doesn't matter. I'll mention you exactly which brands I'm using myself, so you guys can do additional research, because I'm getting too many messages. Really. Steve, what do you mean about Anabolics Anonymous? Steve, what do you mean about AAA? What do you mean about Underground Lab XYZ, right? I'm just going to put it on the screen. You guys can do additional research. I feel that all of these brands and compounds are the highest quality I can source here in Thailand. So do with this what you will. So the Mr. Olympia Expo cycle was as follows. Half an ampule of Bayer Testoviron, testosterone enanthate. I get about 1.25 milliliters out of every ampule of Bayer Testoviron. They're generally overfilled. You might get 1.1, 1.2, but from my personal experience, on average, it's about 1.25 milliliters, giving you approximately 312.5 milligrams of testosterone enanthate. So half an ampule would be 156.3 milligrams weekly. I took Belligas Pharma ethoprimobolan, which is 100 milligrams for 1 milliliter methylene enanthate. So I took 150 milligrams over the week, 1.5 milliliters. Then I mixed that. This is all mixed into a sterile vial for the use over the course of 2 weeks, because I mix 1 ampule of bare testovirin with 2 weeks worth of whatever is on the screen. So that's primobolan I mixed in there. Then I mixed in 1.5 milliliters of mastrone from Belligas Pharma. I mixed in 0.25 milliliters or 25 milligrams trenbolone acetate from Belligas Pharma. And then in a separate injection, right, don't mix water-based with oil-based, I would do, 0.14 milliliters or 7 milligrams, give or take, Winstrol suspension, 50 milligrams per week. So over the course of the week, I would take 156.3 milligrams testosterone enanthate, 150 milligrams primobolan methylene enanthate, 300 milligrams drostenolone enanthate, mastrone, and 25 milligrams trenbolone acetate, alongside 50 milligrams Winstrol suspension. I ran that protocol up until I flew to the United States, and then I discontinued the oxandrolone about 2 weeks before the Mr. Olympia Expo, because I was running 10 milligrams oxandrolone per day, so 70 milligrams per week for basically the majority of this 4 to 5 month cycle. But then the last 2 weeks leading into the Mr. Olympia Expo, I ran a 30 milligram Superdrol just to fill out. And did I fill out? Oh boy. So that's 210 milligrams per week. So for a total, let's say the last couple of months, up until 751.3 milligrams. And at the maximum, the last couple of weeks, I was on 891.3 milligrams, even though the cycle was a little bit off when I was in the United States, because I could only find testosterone propionate and mastrone propionate. So I took an equivalent of about 750 milligrams between those two. So there was testosterone propionate, mastrone propionate, and Superdrol for the last week leading into the Mr. Olympia Expo. And after that, I was like, you know what? I don't need to be big anymore. Everybody gave me my compliments. People were happy with the pictures that I took, throwing up, thumbs ups and front double biceps and stuff. So I decided to throw in the towel and clean out a little bit, because, well, when you're in Las Vegas, you also have a couple old fashions, cocktails, a glass of wine, etc. So it's better not to combine oral steroids with alcohol, even though I did do that occasionally. All right. 37.5 milligrams DHEA split, 25 milligrams upon waking and 12.5 milligrams before bed. That's always been a staple. Up until, let's say, a week before blood work or 2 weeks before the Mr. Olympia, I was on Merck Ovitrol. So that's 500 IUs HCG Monday, Wednesday, Friday. 10 IUs Tiger Pharma growth hormone 6 times before bed. Skip on Sunday, because on Sunday I usually go off diet pretty hard and I eat like an asshole. And it's better not to have that much growth hormone in your system when you also have a boatload of calories floating around in your bloodstream, right, coming from glucose or fatty acids. Better not to do that. And I was taking Increlex 500 microgram bilaterally, so that's 1 milligram twice per week on chest day and quad day. I discontinued all of that 1 week before flying because I didn't want to hold so much water. And even though I did not hold so much water compared to the flight to Dubai, where I ran the Increlex and the HCG and the growth hormone all the way up until the day of flying, the water retention still come on because, well, I was eating a little bit off plan. And when you follow a ketogenic diet and you're super tight with your electrolyte intake and your water intake, and then everything goes out of the door and you're completely all over the place because you're so busy just doing the seafood diet, then yes, you get a little bit bloated. But at least it wasn't that bad compared to Dubai. Let's see, at that time, leading into the blood work, I was running 500 milligrams injectable L-carnitine twice per day before fasted cardio and before the workout. I did the Mirabic run, a protocol alternated with clenbuterol and albuterol. I have a separate video about that. Please give that a watch. I'll link it down below or at the end of this video. And during this time, I also experimented with Belligas Helios, which contains 40 micrograms clenbuterol and 3 milligrams yohimbine. So I would take about half a cc of that, 20 micrograms clen and 1.3 milligrams yohimbine, to see if I could spot inject the lower chest fat, which certainly helped. And it seems that this is very in and out. So with clenbuterol, the half-life and the duration of action is actually very long. But with Helios, it just seems to work for about 2 hours. So you do injectable Helios either before fasted cardio, about 30 minutes to an hour before, and as soon as your heart rate goes up, it starts to work right away. Or you get the most bang for your buck out of the cardio session. People say fasted cardio doesn't make a difference for fat loss, but when you take a boatload of metabolic modulators and fat burners, it sure as hell does, buddy. And I would take that pre-workout, again, half a cc, not too much clenbuterol before the workout, because otherwise my heart rate would be way too high, and certainly not before leg day. So I experimented with the Helios formula. Amino Asylum also has Helios on their product list with 50 micrograms clenbuterol and 5 milligrams yohimbine per 1 cc of injection. So that's something you can look into. I haven't tried that myself, but I found that the Bellicos Helios gave me very nice results. And going forward, I will probably never take oral clenbuterol ever again. I might take mirabegron together with albuterol, but then do a single injection of Helios pre-cardio to really get the fat loss started, because that's a potent stack, I'll tell you that. I was running moderate aminos, LLU, PP332, 250 micrograms, 1 hour pre-cardio, 1 hour pre-workout, and before bed. Or instead of on rest days, instead of doing it pre-workout, I would take it around the same time. So that's 750 micrograms daily. I was taking Mod C, 1 milligram sub-Q upon waking on workout days 5 times per week. Now, the moderate aminos and many other companies out there, they don't produce 5 milligram Mod C vials, but they have 10 milligrams. And I always told you guys that you should inject a Mod C right after reconstitution, which still holds valid. But after waiting for 2 weeks, you still get a similar effect. Now, does it denature over time? Probably. But I still got effect on the second week. So that's the last injection of 1 milligram regarding energy levels, overall improvement of cognition, mitochondrial function upregulation, and the overall improvement of energy levels in combination with SLU, PP332, methylene blue, etc., as part of this stack. So going forward, I'm going to microdose the Mod C, because it seems that the degradation or denaturing of this protein peptide chain isn't as severe as I initially thought. So I'm just going to reconstitute a 10 milligram vial and then use 1 milligram subcutaneously instead of 5 milligrams intramuscularly, because 1 milligram subcutaneously didn't really give me this adverse reaction that I get sometimes from injecting 5 milligrams intramuscularly or sub-Q, where you basically get an allergic reaction that isn't very pleasant. I'm sure many of you guys have experienced this, injecting Mod C from various brands. It's the same brand to brand, so it's completely dependent on the peptide chain. You get a little bit of an adverse reaction sometimes, and that's very unpleasant. So going forward, I'm going to keep the dosages lower, but the weekly intake of Mod C is still going to be 5 milligrams, but instead of 5 milligrams in one injection on the day after leg day, which seems to be the best to mitigate the brain fog and the lethargy and the tiredness that you get from a strenuous leg day, I'm just going to microdose it 1 milligram sub-Q on workout days. I was taking 50 milligrams 5-amino-1-MQ 3 times per day for a total of 150 milligrams, also from moderate aminos. Grilamide ribosine, 3 milligrams upon waking before fasted cardio, 10 milligrams Gen Oracle Cardarine, that's from the compounding pharmacy here locally in Thailand. So that's 1 time per day, the non-cancerous dose. And towards the end, I was running 1 milligram tirzepatide Monday, Wednesday, Friday to kind of blunt my appetite, because my appetite was off the scale. Once I was in the United States, I switched to retatrutide. I tried the one from Amino Asylum and moderate aminos at 1 milligram on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and that suppressed my appetite very well, even though I still ate a little bit too much. It is what it is. I could have eaten a lot worse. I'll tell you that, without the retatrutide. I was taking these ancillaries in nootropics, so that's 100 micrograms T4 before bed, 40 milligrams telmisartan upon waking daily, 10 milligrams ezetimibe daily, various brands of methylene blue. Luckily, moderate aminos is working on their own methylene blue formula, which is going to be in tablets. Right now I'm using the liquid, so I draw that with an insulin syringe and then dosed myself 5 milligrams to 10 milligrams upon waking, 5 times weekly on workout days. I ended up 5 milligrams on most workout days and then 10 milligrams on leg day and on Saturday. So that's back day, because on Saturday I'm usually pretty tired. And then I had the Vigorous Q&A, so I felt like dosing a little bit more. And that certainly kept me going throughout the day. 5 milliliters Urinalysis intramuscularly before bed, and then the nootropics where it's needed, depending on the mood and the workload of the day. So I would take 10 milligrams Dihexa or Nupept, or 50 milligrams Bromantane or intranasal Sumax. right? Depending on the day, my mood, and what I needed to get done. And I was on the mitochondrial support stack, which I discontinued now. So that was 200 milligrams IV NAD+, 800 milligrams IV glutathione, 5,000 milligrams IV vitamin C, and about, well, a B100 complex, which is about 705 milligrams. In total, all IV diluted in 500 milliliters normal saline solution for a total of 540 milliliters intravenously. Now, while I was in the United States, obviously I didn't run the majority of this. Modern Aminos and Amino Asylum both hooked me and Aaron up with a care package, so I was able to run the SLU PP332, the MOD-C, the Erythritide, a couple of injectable pre-workout formulas like Stampede, Super Shredder. We got some albuterol to kind of continue with the fat loss, even though the fat loss wasn't really necessary because we were eating too much. Still recovering, right? So we both got a care package, so it was very generous of both of those companies. And, well, I have some friends in Las Vegas hooking me up with testosterone propionate, masteron propionate, and Superdrol. So I didn't run this exact stack for the last, let's say, 7 days, 8 days leading into the Mr. Olympia Expo. But I was on something comparable. And, well, eating a lot of food allows you to fill out. I'll tell you that. So much appreciated for hooking us up because it allowed us to keep our bodybuilding gain train going 100%. Then, as soon as I came back to Thailand, I started Operation Gyno, which is the following protocol. Instead of half an ampule bare testosterone, we're going to a full ampule of bare testosterone. Haven't done that in ages. I added in 1.1 milliliters of dicadurabolin from Belegas Pharma, which is 300 milligrams for 1 milliliter, so that's 330 milligrams nandrolone decanoate per week. I added in 2 cc's of 50 milligrams per 1 milliliter trisulone acetate from Belegas Pharma, so that's 100 milligrams in total. And we're going to start with anadrol, 50 milligrams sublingually 4 times per week. And I might throw in the YK11 because it is a myostatin inhibitor by increasing follistatin levels. I still need to do a little bit of research on the YK11, so as soon as that arrives, I'll decide on a full protocol, but for now, I'm just going to go with the cookie cutter Reddit dose of 30 milligrams, albeit sublingually, and I'm going to take it before bed because when you look at when myostatin starts to peak and follistatin starts to peak, obviously you want follistatin to be as high as possible when myostatin levels start to peak, and they start to peak around 2 to 4 a.m. in the morning, which in my case is probably 6 to 8 a.m. in the morning because I go to bed at 4. Yeah, I have a little bit of a different circadian rhythm, but I go to bed and wake up exactly at the same time. Wake up at 12, go to bed at 4. So my circadian rhythm is now used to this. My growth hormone secretion pulse and my IGF-1 pulses and my myostatin pulses are all occurring at the same time, but they're occurring at nights different from what you would otherwise read online because I go to bed significantly later. So that's I'm going to do the growth hormone before bed and the YK11 before bed sublingually. Now, before you guys start bitching, I'm fully aware that YK11 is classified as a selective androgen receptor modulator. You guys know me that I'm fully against selective androgen receptor modulators because they're not selective at any dose unless it's a single milligram dose, which is not a dose we're going to run in bodybuilding. So even though YK11 is classified as a SERM, it has a steroidal structure, just like Trenbolone, and Trenbolone is selective as well at single milligram dosages, which I mentioned in the Trenbolone deep dive. And I'm sure all other steroids are also selective at single milligram or low and effective dosages. And some of the oral steroids don't even cause hypothalamic pituitary testicular axis suppression, where you see that after 8 weeks or 16 weeks, luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone levels are still in range. You would say that that's a SARM-like effect. At single milligram dosages, or maybe even 10 milligram, 50 milligram dosages, particular steroids or steroidal compounds are selective. And then it's up to you not to go beyond that dose. Well, good luck with that. Good luck running Trenbolone in single milligram dosages. Everybody told me I was crazy for running 25 milligrams Trenbolone acetate per week. None of those guys ended up looking like me. Well, that's besides the point. In the rodent models, I believe that there's not so much data we can use to extrapolate from. So there's a study where they used 350 milligrams to 700 milligrams YK11 in mice, and if you extrapolate that to a human weighing about 110 kilos, soon to be 120 kilos, then that would be, 6,250 milligrams YK11. So again, I'm just going to go with the Reddit dose that seems to be tried and proven and somewhat effective, but I'm going to take everything sublingually because I was having some digestive issues leading into my Las Vegas trip, which got, well, 10 times worse after being in Las Vegas. Is that maybe the retatrutide slowing my digestion? Is that the oral steroids or the copious amounts of ancillaries and over-the-counter supplements that I'm on? Probably a combination of all of it. As soon as I eat my regular ketogenic diet containing a boatload of vegetables and the foods that I always eat, I don't have any issues. I can still pull a vacuum at the end of the day. But as soon as I deviate, man, holy moly, bloating galore. And you can see that in the video, which I did with Aaron on the second day I was in the United States going to train at Torture Gym. I was so fucking bloated, man. And it was only after one meal in the morning. Okay, I had ice cream the night before and a couple mega stuffed Oreos, right? The damage was not done by that time, but I was just perpetually bloated the entire time I was in the United States. And I had the exact same thing when I was there last year for an entire month. I was just perpetually bloated. And the year before that, I think I had my on and off days, but I guess I'm just getting older and my digestion is getting worse and worse and worse. So I need to be increasingly careful. But well, I have zero control of my appetite when I'm on holiday. When I'm back home and all my meals are prepped and I don't miss meals and I eat exactly what I need to be eating, I'm totally fine. But as soon as I go on holiday, I kind of lose control and I just eat whatever I want to the dismay of my digestive tract. So I need to fix that going forward. Part of fixing that process is coming off the oral steroids and taking everything sublingually. Whereas before, I would take 10 milligrams Anavar or 30 milligrams Superdrol sublingually, but then take it orally, just conventional route on rest days. And of course, when you take it sublingually, you're not going to spit that out, up until now, that is. So I would just take it sublingually, wait 10 minutes, and then swallow the remainder. So maybe you absorb 90% sublingually, and the other 10% goes into the intestinal tract. And I'm sure everybody can agree that even a low dose of Trenbolone is not very good for your digestive health. So Trenbolone is out, and all the oral steroids that I'm going to take, the Anadrol and the YK11, or perhaps Dianabol, if I feel that these compounds are preventing the gyno formation from being occurring to a maximum effect, because they're DHT derivatives, and DHT derivatives, especially DHT itself, has some anti-estrogenic properties, even though Anadrol structurally could technically interact with the estrogen receptor, which is the reason why I'm adding it to my stack. And well, I'm already bloated, so might as well become a little bit more bloated and enjoy all of the benefits and the pumps from Anadrol, right? If the damage is already done, we're just going to go all in. So besides the potential estrogen receptor activation, DHT derivatives can actually block estrogen-mediated gene transcription, whereas that is more apparent with something like Masteron or Primobolan, which have actually been prescribed in the context of breast cancers. It might still occur with Anadrol and YK11. So depending on how it goes over the next couple of weeks, right, if I feel that my gynos is growing and it's being sensitive and that kind of stuff, right, squirting milk, turning into a fembot, all that stuff. But if that's not happening, then I'm just going to take the Anadrol and the YK11 out, enjoy the gains for what they were, and then throw in the Dianabol, right? We can always change going forward depending on how the body responds, even though this is the silliest protocol I've ever run, right? Somebody has to do it. Might as well be me. All right, so that is the protocol regarding the steroids going forward. It's a total weekly steroid intake, including YK11, because it's steroidal, of 1,165 milligrams. So that's basically the maximum I'm willing to run. So if you're asking me, Steve, why don't you do 500 test, 500 deca? Oh, it's because I'm also on Tristolone and Anadrol and YK11. So let's see how that's going to play out for me. I feel a little bit puffy already, but it's not as bad as I expected. And maybe I need a little bit more time and a little bit more calories. I added in the HCG from Merck Ovitrol, 500 IUs 3 times per week. Added in the Tiger growth hormone, but we're going to do a little bit different protocol going forward. I'm going to take 10 IUs subcutaneously before bed on chest days and 18 IUs subcutaneously before bed on quad days. Don't blame me. It's all Chase Irons' fault. So it's a total of 56 IUs growth hormone weekly. Once the Tiger Pharma growth hormone runs out, I'm going to switch to the Belligas Pharma Beltropin because both test actually quite high on serum levels. So I believe that Tiger GH tested around 36 nanograms per milliliter 2.5 hours after a 10 IUs intramuscular shot. to the shoulder and doing the exact same protocol, exact same timing, exact same dose. Belly gas came back around 32, 31 nanograms per milliliter, which is included in blood work results. We're going to review a little bit later on. So I would say that that's a normal fluctuation. But, well, the belly gas is significantly cheaper than the Tiger, and the Tiger was already pretty much free. So in order to save some money for pharmaceutical grades when I actually want to get lean again, I'm just going to spend the money on generics. I know I'm against generics, but the prices are so good that I'm willing to give it a try. Right? And instead of 18 IUs Tiger Pharma, I'm just going to do 2 vials of Beltropin from Belligas because those are 10 IUs per vial, right? So 1 vial on Monday and Thursday for chest day, and 2 vials, I can't believe I'm saying this, 2 vials on Tuesday and Friday after quad day. Let's see, the Increlex is coming back, 500 micrograms bilaterally, so that's 1,000 micrograms 4 times per week on all workout days. So that's 4,000 micrograms in total over the week. Let's see if we can make some crazy grains. I just got 10 boxes. Yeah, it's back in stock here, so I stocked up. Good stuff. Injectable L-carnitine is going to stay exactly the same to prevent some fat gain during this time. And again, I'm following a ketogenic diet. So instead of increasing my carbs, I'll be increasing my fats first. And when I don't feel comfortable with the fat intake anymore, then the carbs are going to start ramping up, probably in the form of intra-workout and 1 post-workout meal. I'll continue with the SLU-PP332 at 250 micrograms, that's 3 times per day, 750 micrograms total, because the scientific evidence looks so compelling, because the mitochondrial function and benefits that I get out of SLU-PP332, I really want to continue. So I'm not going to use it as a typical fat burner. Maybe it can prevent fat gain, fat accumulation over the next couple of weeks that I'm ramping up my calories, alongside the growth hormone, the Increlex, etc. That also has a bit of a blunting effect regarding fat accumulation. And I want to run this for the mitochondrial function benefits that I get out of it. And I'll continue with the MOD-C at 1 milligram on workout days. So that's 4 times per week going forward, 1 milligram subcutaneously. That is, I got injectable coenzyme Q10 from Modern Aminos at 300 milligrams per 1 milliliter. So instead of megadosing the ubiquinol, which I've always been doing pre-workouts, yes, you can take antioxidants pre-workout if you want to use that as an excuse why you're a shitty bodybuilder. Go for it, right? Vitamin C, vitamin E, ubiquinol pre-workout. I'm not going to be a good bodybuilder. Shut the fuck up. Take it. The benefits of coenzyme Q10 and ubiquinol for athletic performance and overall productivity and endurance during the workout has been well documented. So they gave me a bottle to try, and I can tell you after a couple of workouts, that is fire. Yes, energy for days. Just like I remember the first time when I added in like 400 milligrams ubiquinol orally, albeit that this is significantly more bioavailable, obviously, and significantly more potent. So I'm breezing through my workouts like nothing is happening, even though I gained 10 kilos on the scale from, 5 to 10 kilos before the Mr. Olympia and after coming back from Las Vegas. So the body weight and accrual and getting heavier and heavier and heavier, this helps me to breeze through my workouts. I'm doing this in combination with 50 milligrams to start, diisopropylamine dichloroacetate, abbreviated to DADA. Everybody loves a good DADA story. So I'm going to improve ATP recycling with DADA, 50 milligrams subcutaneously, about 1 hour pre-workout, 4 times weekly. And then I might slowly ramp that up to 200 milligrams, 1 milliliter subcutaneous, 1 hour pre-workout, 4 times or maybe 2 times weekly, depending on how high the intensity of the quad day or how high of the intensity of the chest day is going to turn out to be. Because, it's only 6 sets, right, per chest workout or quad workout, but those 6 sets are going to be brutal. So if I need a little bit of injectable coenzyme Q10 and DADA to get me through the workout, then I'll take whatever I can get. And I'll be experimenting with some other modern amino and amino asylum products in the meantime in the form of various injectable pre-workouts. We'll get into that a little bit later on. I started the Joints of Steel formula, which is 150 milligrams N-acetyl-D-glucosamine, 40 milligrams chondroitin, and 40 milligrams of methylsulfonyl methane, MSM, from Modern Aminos. I'll do 1 milliliters in the morning and 1 milliliter in the evening before bed. So that's 230 milligrams per injection, or 460 milligrams over the day total, to help with my connective tissue, because I expect to get significantly stronger on the stack of Test, Deca, Ment, and Anadrol, but I'm also getting old, and I have 25 years in the gym, so my joints are a little bit creaky, and after that last run of Winstrol and Superdrol, I don't know, it feels a little bit off. So hopefully the Deca over time, right? I started, 10 days ago, so it's only been a while since the Deca's in my system. So I need some time for that to accumulate, for the synovial fluid to really build up and get some joint lubrication and padding on the connective tissue. And I really hope that this combination of high dose growth hormone, decent dose nandrolone and trestolone with this joints of steel formula can finally and surely over the next couple of weeks kind of make my joints feel like I was 18 again, 16 again. Fingers crossed, I'll keep you guys posted. And instead of doing the IV mitochondrial support stack that I was doing before, I just switched to intramuscular glutathione shots, so that's 600 milligrams or 4 milliliters of Bayer-Tationel pharmaceutical glutathione, 4 times weekly before bed, so that's about... if I do a morning workout, that's significantly longer after the workout. And if I do an evening workout, it will be about 4 hours after the workout, which should be enough to still get this post-exercise stress response from having, oxidants somewhat elevated. So again, before bed, I would be in a very low oxidative stress environment, and it's good for the skin and prevents acne and all those benefits that are coming from glutathione. The ancillaries and nootropics are as follows: 100 micrograms T4 before bed, 40 milligrams telmisartan upon waking, 5 milligrams nebivolol upon waking, because I know with my increased body weight, my increased training capacity in doing 2 quad workouts over the day and already having slight, borderline left ventricular hypertrophy, as was determined by the latest echocardiogram on my heart, where we're talking about 1 millimeter off. I think it's best to continue with a beta blocker at 5 milligrams per day. Before you ask about potassium levels, yes, I've been checking my serum potassium levels over the last couple of months, and there has been no change whatsoever, right? So that's me as an individual combining telmisartan at a low dose with a low dose of nebivolol, which both could cause hyperkalemia. But since I drink so much water and my potassium intake is always the same, around 8,000 to 10,000 milligrams per day. Yeah, it's sky fucking high, but I also sweat a lot and I train a lot. As long as it's consistent, and again, I'm me and you're not me, so you have to do your blood work as well before you make this specific combination, because the risk is there, right? Since my potassium intake is very stable, large majority of the potassium that I'm getting are either from animal meat sources or from the vegetables that I'm eating, and now slowly increasing my nuts, seeds, and avocado intake. It's stable for me, so I don't have any issues with elevated serum potassium levels. But if you don't follow this lifestyle like I do, there is some caution to be advised with this particular drug combination. 10 milligrams of ezetimibe before bed. I reintroduced the fluvoxamine because after a couple of months without the fluvoxamine and being on the trembling sandwich, my mind was a little bit in turmoil. So I'm happy to be back on an SSRI to keep my moods nice and leveled, especially in combination with a beta blocker, nebivolol. This combination of nebivolol and fluvoxamine, bliss. Now, don't do what I do. Don't combine an SSRI with a MAOI inhibitor in the form of methylene blue. But I heard somebody talk on the Vigorous Q&A that they combined fluvoxamine with methylene blue at both low dosages. Now, I tried this before. I tried to combine vortioxetine, which is another SSRI, at 5 milligrams with 3 milligrams methylene blue, and I got straight up serotonin syndrome for the rest of the day. Body was hot, felt weird, right? Slight hallucinations while I was sleeping, and full-blown diarrhea the next day. So that combination, never again. But the vortioxetine was also killing my dick. So I took that out and I threw it in the trash, and I will never touch that again. With fluvoxamine, I got none of those issues, only benefits. So I did combine it with 2.5 milligrams methylene blue. Nothing, only benefits. Then 5 milligrams and even 10 milligrams methylene blue. Now that's me. Again, it's not you. It's another drug combination that some caution needs to be advised. There might be serotonin syndrome drug interactions here, right? Combining an SSRI with a MAOI inhibitor. But for me, so far, so good. Right? I'll keep you posted. I don't take any L-tryptophan supplements. I don't take any serotonin supplements. Maybe my gut microbiome is so terrible right now after the trip to the United States that I'm not producing a lot of serotonin within my intestinal tract, and that's why I'm getting away with this combination. And then let's see over the next couple of weeks as my gut microbiome is improving, if this combination can last. But so far, so good. 50 milligrams fluvoxamine is my sweet spot dose where I get all of the benefits but none of the side effects. And 5 to 10 milligrams methylene blue is exactly the same in this combination. So far, so good, but I'll keep you guys posted. As always, 5 milliliters cerebrolysine intramuscularly before bed. That experiment is almost concluded. That's been almost 2.5 months straight on 5 milliliters cerebrolysine. It was absolutely amazing. Fucking bliss, but I'll document that in the cerebrolysine deep dive after I switch to 10 milligrams Geropharm Cortexin daily so I can compare, right? Cosmic Nootropics was very generous of them to send me a couple boxes of Geropharm Cortexin for me to compare between this long-term cerebrolysine use and then probably 10 to 14 days of Cortexin use. And once that experiment is concluded, let's say a month from now, then I can finally finish up that deep dive and record that for you guys and tell you what my personal experiences are, what the ideal dosages are, the duration of the cycles, basically, how long cerebrolysine, the beneficial effects last, which, well, I can tell you firsthand, after a month on cerebrolysine, the benefits last about 6 months to 1 year, depending on how bad you abuse your brain with trenbolone or stimulants or other oxidative stress compounds. And then I'll compare that to Cortexin and give you guys the full breakdown in that deep dive. Nootropics will be the same as needed. Dihexa, Nupept, Bromantane, intranasal Sumax. And again, I stopped the mitochondrial IV support stack because I feel that I'm getting all of the benefits from SLU, PP332, MOTS, and methylene blue, and that's significantly less cumbersome than having a nurse come over to the house, prepare all the shit for me, and then administer that intravenously, which, well, for the guys that have ever done NAD plus intravenous administrations, you guys know that it's hell, basically, for 30 minutes. Actually, it's not hell, but it feels like that last part of the roller coaster where you're basically dipping down into the roller coaster and your heart sinks a little bit. You're like, oh, it's going to start. So you feel like that. You feel a little bit anxious and uneasy for 30 minutes. That's why some people need a 2-hour IV, which, well, I don't have time for that. During this time, during this Operation Gyno protocol, we'll be running the following experiments. Amino Asylum Stampede and Monster Pump Blend. I used to have videos about those topics, but I had to take them offline because YouTube was a little bit anxious about Amino Asylum. But so far, so good. Moderate aminos, I'll be running Zeus Juice, Max Drive, and the Motivator. I'll keep you guys posted. And then I'm also running a Bathmate protocol with topical Androctim DHT cream, BPC157, TB500, and high-dose growth hormone to see if I can make my PP grow. So I can deal with my wife's BBL because, well, she's getting a bit chunky now. But it's all for a good cause. So, without further ado, let's get into the blood work review. So here we have the blood work results from Friday, September 27th. I did that the day before my birthday because I know on my birthday I'm going to be eating and drinking a little bit. And then I took them again, let's say a month later on Saturday, October 26th. So in the first blood work results, it's at the end of the Tremolone Sandwich Mr. Olympia Expo cycle. And this is October 26th, is the first week on being on testosterone, nandrolone, tristrolone, and anadrol without the YK11 because that's still on the way. Let's get started with the urinalysis. Basically the same. Specific gravity was low, so I was fully hydrated. But the pH on the September 27th blood work results after running, a modest dose of trenbolone was a little bit lower, so urine was a little bit more acidic. And I was training significantly harder at that time because it was 5 days a week trying to make as many gains as possible before the expo. And now it's 7. So at least the pH of my urine has improved somewhat. And all of the other parameters were normal or negative. So there's no protein in my urine, no glucose in my urine, no blood in my urine, no nitrites, no ketones, no urobilinogen, no bilirubin, no leukocytes, etc., etc., etc. So we're all good there regarding the kidney function based on the urinalysis. Let's move over to the complete blood count. On the Trembolone Sandwich, at the end, I was getting a little bit fatigued, and I think I overreached a little bit because I was due for a scheduled deload, but I kept training. Again, trying to show up as good as possible, and I literally worked myself into the ground. So you see here that my white blood cell count is like 8,230 cells per cubic millimeter, which is pretty high for somebody who's on cycle. Normally it's around 4,000, 5,000 cells per cubic millimeter. And you see here that my neutrophils are like 72 and my lymphocytes are 20, so it's a bit skewed. So basically, long story short, I was kind of sick before I went to the United States. That is why I was so tired. And perhaps that's why I was so hungry. But I had no breaks because, well, Aaron was on his holiday also. And we had a boatload of things to do and planned. So I was kind of wrecked. I'm gonna be honest, right? I already had issues flying over to the United States, eating too much. I should have been fasting. But I just ate the airplane foods. And then I had a stuffy nose, so I could barely breathe. And then snoring. And it was a mess. Anyway, at least the methylene blue and that particular combination of compounds that I was on kept my hematocrit at 49%. So that's good to see. Red blood cell count was normal. And I was still on the methylene blue and telmisartan in the United States at the same dosages that I was running previously, because I have good friends to hook me up. But I think the snoring that I got in the United States, as Aaron mentioned in our Muscle Nomads podcast, luckily that's all resolved now. I think like 10 days of snoring and a couple days after I came back, so let's say 2.5 weeks of snoring up a storm, increased my hematocrit a little bit. It could be a difference in hydration, but I did feel that, the snoring was so bad, I probably got sleep apnea, increasing my hematocrit. And red blood cell count, between 3 to 4%, and hemoglobin even 3%. So we're going to continue with the telmisartan and methylene blue, and I don't expect this to go any higher. Not that it's alarmingly high, right? Telmisartan and methylene blue keeps hematocrit and red blood cell count under control while we're using anabolic androgenic steroids. But it's still funny to see that, assuming that it's from the snoring, that this could have so much of a dramatic effect, discounting for the hydration. But in both blood work results, I would say I was equally hydrated. And while the change in red cell distribution width of almost 10% kind of confirms that there's a lot of new red blood cells being produced, and this is why the ratio between the smaller red blood cells and the bigger red blood cells is now being skewed. Because again, if I had sleep apnea or just tremendous snoring causing my hematocrit to increase, you would see that on the red cell distribution width by a lot of new red blood cells being produced, topping up the RBC count with almost 3%. Well, at least my white blood cell count came down with 15% from 8,230 to 7,020 cells per cubic millimeter. No longer sick. Moving over to blood chemistry and kidney function, blood glucose levels were pretty much the same. Blood urine nitrogen increased a little bit from 25.6 to 26.3 milligrams per deciliter. Protein intake is pretty much the same. So maybe there is a lot of metabolism going on in my liver regarding protein turnover. And with time, that should probably come down again. But over time, I'll also reduce my protein intake as the carbohydrate intake and the fat intake is going up during this next upcoming off season. Creatinine from 1.65, pretty high, to 1.4 milligrams per deciliter, both out of the reference range, but it's still a reduction of 15%. On September 27th, or leading up to it, I was taking creatine supplements, and I took that out. I think some of the issues that I got with my intestinal health had to do with the creatine, because I would take that pre-workout to get a little bit of a boost during the workout. I was pretty fatigued at the end of this, cutting cycle, leading into the Mr. Olympia Expo and leading into this holiday. So I added in 5 grams of creatine pre-workout, creatine monohydrate, and it would blow the out of me. So I think the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks that I was doing this workout, I just had a fucking bloated stomach. And then, of course, you drink like 1.5 liters to 3 liters of water over the workout, especially on leg days. And your stomach would just bloat and bloat and bloat and bloat and bloat. So I'm going to forego the creatine monohydrate for now. Actually, I'm going to forego all kinds of pre-workouts and processed nutrients and just rely on real food. But we'll discuss that when we go over the diet. If I reintroduce it, I'm going to take creatine before bed, when it doesn't matter if I have a little bit of water in the stomach. Cystatin C came down by 10%, so creatinine came down by 15% because creatine monohydrate intake and training intensity went down. And cystatin C is pretty much the same, well, a reduction of 10%, which is significant, from 0.86 to 0.78 milligrams per liter, meaning my kidneys are still good. Win-win. Uric acid came down even more from 3.8 to 3.1 milligrams per deciliter. So even though blood urine nitrogen increased by 3%, uric acid at least came down by 18.4%. So that's a significant reduction. Again, on top of my hydration. Creatine phosphokinase from 3,300 to 1,750 units per liter. Training less, taking the clenbuterol out or the other stimulants, right? Mirabegron, clenbuterol, albuterol, they all work on the heart, increasing creatine phosphokinase levels quite significantly. And of course, you're training a lot harder, training to failure. Right now, I'm keeping about 1 rep in reserve because I'm training, the same body part twice per week, so I can't really go to failure. And all these things have an effect on your creatine phosphokinase levels. And of course, taking some time off while I was in the United States, I did miss a couple workouts. Also lowers your CPK levels simply because you're not training that insane and that frequently. High sensitivity C-reactive protein from 1.2 to 1 milligram per liter. So far, the underground labs that have been using no signs of inflammation because they're using MCT oil. Homocysteine, reduction of 20% from 12.6 to 10.2 micromoles per liter. So that's, I would say, a normal result. I'm on top of my B vitamins, and homocysteine metabolism is just normal. So no signs of inflammation based on my high sensitivity C-reactive protein and homocysteine level, even though my ferritin levels did increase a little bit, but we'll address that a little bit later on. Serum electrolytes, a fluctuation of 2% down to 5% up. It's pretty much all normal, right? I keep checking this because I knew that eventually I was going to add in the nebivolol. So combining nebivolol with telmisartan had no effect on my serum potassium levels, even though it did increase by 5%. That's well within the margins. And if I see that creeping up to 5.5 milliequivalent per liter, then of course I'm going to make some changes. But this is probably where it's going to top out. Moving over to serum lipids, cholesterol went down by 3% from 100 to 97 milligrams per deciliter. I would say that that's a normal fluctuation. Triglycerides went down a little bit more. That's a big jump. So even though I'm fatter, I have less fat in the blood. That's good to see. 42% down from 48 to 28 milligrams per deciliter. I might have injected some carnitine before going in for blood work. So did I? No, I'm not sure. But that's probably the surefire way to get your triglycerides down in a hurry. HDL is still trash from 27 to 28, an increase of 4%, but it's 1 point on blood work, so it's not really that much. So increasing my fat intake, I'm still doing everything right for my HDL levels, right? Ezetimibe, such as bergamot, fish oil, daily fasted cardio, blah, 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 blah. I'm doing all of that right. But when you come from a cycle on heavy oral steroids and injectable Winstrol, how good is your LDL or HDL going to be? And now I didn't really take a break, right? My dosage intake was pretty much the same the entire way through, whether I was in Thailand or the United States or Thailand again, and now it's increasing. So I'll do my absolute best to bring this HDL up to 40. Will that be possible on a combination of test, DECA, Mint, Anadrol, and YK11? Probably not. But as long as my LDL is low, which... well, it did increase by 4.5% from 67 to 70 milligrams per deciliter. As long as it's below 100, and I can keep my HDL to LDL ratio at 1 to 2, so that's 1 part HDL, 2 parts LDL, then I think I'm going to be okay, especially considering that my lipoprotein level A is super low. My apolipoprotein A1, coming from HDL, a protein contained within the HDL lipoprotein, is, low, unfortunately, but that's also because my HDL is low, so what do you expect? But my apolipoprotein B contained within the LDL molecules also quite low, right? Not as low as LDLs from the reference range, but this is basically towards the bottom of the reference range. So I would say we're all good there. Clear signs of low inflammatory states, and my lipid parameters are acceptable for being on cycle. Liver panel. Now, here you see that's total protein, albumin, globulin, albumin to globulin ratio. That's all pretty much normal. Total bilirubin and direct bilirubin did increase, probably because I came from the Trembolone cycle and there's now a lot of turnover of the red blood cells. That's normal to see that. At one point, you get a lot of destruction of red blood cells, but also a lot of production of new red blood cells. So even though red blood cells are being destroyed and the hemoglobin content within is released, which is then metabolized into bilirubin in the liver and then conjugated for excretion, right? If there's a lot of production of red blood cells from snoring or sleep apnea, or just switching to Anadrol, which 1 week on Anadrol, how much red blood cells do you expect? So all these little changes can ultimately increase your bilirubin levels, especially if you don't eat so many vegetables on holiday, because bilirubin is excreted in the intestinal bile acids, and that needs to be bound up with vegetables or fiber at least. But in the United States, I mean, yes, I got my protein in. Yes, I got my healthy fats in, and then unhealthy fats, my saturated fats, and a boatload of carbohydrates. But I probably was on 10 grams, 15 grams of fiber per day, unless I really, drove home the point that I needed to add vegetables to my breakfast meal. And then you have maybe 200 grams of vegetables, whereas before I eat over a kilo of vegetables. So I think that there was some enterohepatic recirculation of the total and direct bilirubin. The direct bilirubin that's not conjugated would just get recycled, and total bilirubin, which is conjugated, glucuronidated, can be broken down into direct bilirubin and then reabsorbed anyway. Right, so I need to get back on the fiber train, which I'm already doing. Liver enzymes came down because I'm running less oral compounds. Right? I'm not swallowing my orals anymore. I'm just taking that sublingually and then spitting out the remainder. I trained less hard. I took a couple days off. Right, so liver enzymes went down with 35%. AST from 72 to 50 units per liter, and ALT from 58 to 38 units per liter. So I have some wiggle room for oral steroid abuse. This is how bodybuilder thinks. Oh, my blood work is good. Now I can throw in the anadrol and the YK living. Terrible. Alkaline phosphatase came up slightly, 7%. I've been really hammering the magnesium glycinate. I went from 200 milligrams to 300 milligrams per day. I will continue to do that to see if I can bring my alkaline phosphatase levels up higher. Maybe even after dosing magnesium at like 2 grams, 2.5 grams per day for years, maybe I still have a magnesium deficiency, which apparently can be seen in alkaline phosphatase levels. Now, on top of my zinc, on top of my magnesium, I take vitamin D3, I take vitamin K for magnesium transports into the bones and skeletal muscle to a certain extent. So I'm going to continue to do that and see if it has any benefits regarding my alkaline phosphatase levels. I did not notice any change to my blood pressure, and I did not notice any change to my contractile capacity. So I'll try it for another month, and then if I don't see any significant change, I'm just going to stick with 200 milligrams magnesium bisglycinate with meals, 5 meals per day, so that's 1,000 milligrams magnesium supplemental over the day, on top of the magnesium that I get from my diet, which I already get 1,000 milligrams of magnesium from my diet. And just leave it there, because it's a lot of extra money and a lot of extra tablets for marginal changes on blood work results. For the guys who don't know, gamma GT is found on the cell surface of hepatic cells or bile duct cells, where it protects against oxidative stress, helps with glutathione metabolism, and helps with amino acid transport. If you have damage to the liver or the bile ducts, then gamma GT levels, because the cells are basically destroyed, the gamma GT levels spill into the bloodstream, and thus you can detect as an early sign of issues with your liver or bile duct. Now, since I take my TUDCA or UDCA, I take my fiber, I take my glutathione and carnitine and coffee, liver health, bile duct health, and overall intestinal health is sustained. And these gamma GT levels have never, ever been elevated in my case. All right, moving over to the iron levels. Ferritin, you see, increased by 180% from 170 to 330 nanograms per milliliter, even though my serum iron only increased by 30% from 84 to 110 micrograms per deciliter. Steak every day in the United States. Obviously, you get a lot of iron absorption, and but I would not expect this much ferritin increase. Is there now inflammation in my liver, even though my high sensitivity C-reactive protein is in range and my homocysteine levels are in range? Ferritin is an indication of liver stress, liver inflammation, which would not surprise me, given the fact that I ate a lot of American food outside. And, my intestinal distension was so horrendous that it might have spilled over into my liver. And even though my liver enzymes are normal and all of my other liver markers are normal, there might be some inflammation there. I'm sure I can get it under control by the next blood work results, because I'm going to be eating very healthy going forward. Thyroid panel. I ran out of T4, I guess. I totally forgot until I saw the blood work results. So here you see that before it was normal, right? At 100 micrograms T4 before bed, you see normal thyroid levels. And I guess I ran out. So So I totally forgot. I did my blood work. It's like, why is my T4 level so low? I'm still on growth hormone, so you get a lot of conversion of T4 into T3. So my T3 levels are still normal. My thyroid stimulating hormone levels are already creeping up. And if I leave it like this, my TSH will be like 7 micro IUs per milliliter over the next couple of weeks. And my T4 and T3 levels will be 0 because, the growth hormone will keep converting what little T4 is being produced, putting more and more pressure on my thyroid gland by raising thyroid stimulating hormone levels. And again, HCG at these micro dosages of 500 IUs 3 times per week is not enough to stimulate any kind of thyroid activity, even though HCG does interact with the TSH receptors. But that's only observed in pregnant women, where serum beta HCG levels are like 36,000 or 50,000 or 100,000. Because their pituitary produces so much HCG. Whereas when you take 500 IUs HCG subcutaneously 3 times per week, your beta HCG levels are around 15. So that's a big difference, right? 15 versus 36,000 or 50,000 or 100,000. Big fucking difference. You need a boatload of HCG for it to interact with the thyroid stimulating hormone receptor. So when I got these blood work results, I knew exactly what to do. Put the 100 micrograms T4 back into your protocol. Steve. All right, moving over to the sex hormones. Cortisol levels came down a little bit. I guess I was a little bit overtrained by the time I went to the United States again. Still taking Anavar and Trembolone, blocking the glucocorticoid receptor at low and effective dosages of 25 milligrams Trembolone acetate and 70 milligrams Anavar. Where's that cortisol going to go? Into the bloodstream, raising concentrations, but it's not being or not giving you any negative catabolic effect simply because you're blocking it at the receptor site and now taking the Anavar and the Trembolone out. Cortisol levels has actually come down, but also because I'm eating a little bit more freely and feeling a little bit more relaxed, being on Nubivolol and an SSRI in the form of fluvoxamine. Estradiol levels, though, astronomically high on both blood work results. Before, on September 27th, I was obviously on the Trembolone sandwich, 25 milligrams Trembolone acetate per week, giving me a serum estradiol of 98.6 picograms per milliliter because Trembolone detects as estradiol. The last time, or the previous cycle of 6 weeks, 25 milligrams Trembolone acetate per week, my estradiol ended up at 108.3 picograms per milliliter. So let's say it's around 100 picograms per milliliter if you run 25 milligrams Trembolone acetate per week. 50% of that, right before I went on Trembolone, in both instances, my estradiol levels was around 45 to 50 picograms per milliliter. And then after adding in 25 milligrams Trembolone acetate per week, it doubled from, let's say, 45, 50 to 98, 108. All right, so arbitrarily, as a rule of thumb, maybe we can come to this conclusion. If you add in 20, or for every 25 milligrams Trembolone acetate that you take weekly, you add up 50 picograms per milliliter on your serum estradiol level. So if you have 25 picograms per milliliter on your serum estradiol levels before adding in the Trembolone sandwich, and then you add 100 milligrams or 150 milligrams Trembolone acetate per week, that's 6 times 50, right? Let's whip out the invisible calculator off screen. 6 times 50 plus 25. Then your estradiol might be 325 picograms per milliliter. Now, if you have experience with 150 milligrams Trembolone acetate per week, or 100 milligrams Trembolone acetate per week, or 50 milligrams Trembolone acetate per week, and you do blood work before and after, let us know down below if this general rule of thumb played out. For every 25 milligrams Trembolone acetate per week that you took, did serum estradiol levels increase by 50 points, right? 50 picograms per milliliter. Let us know down below. I would love to hear about it. In my case, it did. You see that the SHBG is low in the blood work results of September 27th. So you would expect that to be significantly higher if your estradiol was really 100 picograms per milliliter on the stack that it was on. I would expect the SHBG to be about 20, give or take. And now, with my estradiol being 127.5 picograms per milliliter on this combination of test, nandrolone, tresolone, and HCG, right, also stimulates estradiol production, then my SHBG is exactly there, 20.5 nanomoles per liter, right? SHBG is being produced by estradiol in the liver. So this is an easy detection method. If you're on Trembolone, you're running Masteron and Winstrol, whatever else, your estradiol is high, but your SHBG is low. your trembolone is detecting as estradiol. And if you want to know your true estradiol level, you need to do a liquid chromatography tandem mass spectrometry, high sensitivity estradiol testing. But I'm not doing that, unfortunately, because it's not available here in Thailand. But if your estradiol, if your SHBG is elevated or at least normal for being on a copious amounts of anabolic steroids, I mean, your SHBG is usually low. Unless your estradiol is high, then SHBG might be somewhat in range, in which case, or which is the case on my blood work results. I know it's very complicated, but watch this video back a couple times for you to get it. All right. So right now my estradiol is 130, and I'm trying to get that up to 200 micrograms per milliliter, which should be more than enough to grow this gyno tissue with the progestogenic 19-ors and the estrogen receptor interaction of the anadrol and, well, the growth hormone and the elevated prolactin later on. Yeah, it's going to be a whammy of craziness. Progesterone is 0.1 nanograms per milliliter, so that came down a little bit. Prolactin is not as high as I would expect it to be. But then again, my dopamine levels are pretty high also, so maybe that's suppressing it. Thank God, right? It's still working. Thank God. But let's see how long it is working. If I get dick at 1 point for the leg mass and the gyno mass to become substantial, then I'm going to have to eat it. Total testosterone was low last time because I stopped the HCG 1 week before doing blood work. And that's maybe why my estradiol was lower than the last time I checked my estradiol levels on 25 milligrams trenbolone acetate per week, because the last time, again, it was 108 picograms per milliliter. And now, after coming off the HCG, my testosterone came down from about, I think, 1,200 or 1,100 to 630 nanograms per deciliter. And through the rules of deduction and using highly dubious and copious amounts of math, my estradiol might have been 110 picograms per milliliter as well if I kept the HCG in. So that's a reduction of 10 points on the estradiol by removing the HCG. And so that's 10 picograms per milliliter coming from intertesticular aromatization. And, well, 600 milligrams of testosterone, or 600 nanograms per deciliter coming from intertesticular testosterone production being stimulated by HCG. So right now on 300, or on the first week of 312.5 milligrams testosterone enanthate, my total testosterone is 1,600 nanograms per deciliter alongside the HCG. I think the HCG is doing more in this context than the testosterone is doing. And I expect my total testosterone levels to come up to about 2,500 nanograms per deciliter over the next couple of weeks, because, again, subcutaneous administrations of testosterone produced in castor oil, it's going to take some time before these serum levels actually come up and start to peak around 2,500, maybe 2,800 nanograms per deciliter on a single ampule of testosterone enanthate alongside 1,500 IUs HCG over the week. Well, free testosterone bioavailable testosterone details are on the screen. SHBG increased because now the estradiol is really estradiol and not trenbolone. DHEA sulfate is pretty much the same, let's say around 500 micrograms per deciliter. Growth hormone last time was 31.9, so that's the serum test on belly gas beltropin. So I would say that that's a good result. And maybe it's a little bit higher, a little bit lower, depending on the timing. But usually I time it exactly 2.5 hours after an intramuscular shot right into the delts. It seems to have the highest absorption. And I'm happy with those results. So once the Tiger GH runs out, I'm just going to switch to beltropin. Cheap and effective. Last time it was an Increlex, and this time it wasn't an Increlex. And I was just on a couple of days of GH, so that's why my IGF-1 levels are, and IGF binding protein 3 are still a little bit on the low side. I'm sure over time this will start coming up. Insulin levels came down, actually, which is weird because you would expect fasting insulin levels to be absolutely horrendous after 10 days in the United States, eating whatever, at least for dinner, that is. Having plenty of ice cream and Oreo cookies and, well, whatnot. But they actually came down, 3.6, which is already low, to 2.4, which is, well, even below the reference range. So I would say that that's quite good. But hemoglobin A1C increased by 2% from 4.9 to 5%. So not too much damage done. Well, you tell me in the comment section if I'm ready for this 1,100 milligram per week cycle. I would say yes, with some minor adjustments. And then I'll keep you guys updated. So we'll do the next blood work results, let's say at the end of November. And then maybe depending on how I feel, I might do a small one and then before, especially before the gyno surgery. Let's see how bad my blood work results end up being after all that test, nandrolone, trestolone, anadrol, or dianabol, and perhaps YK11 and copious amounts of growth hormone and Increlex. And hopefully I'll have something to show for it this time, because the last time I was so stupid and lazy, I completely forgot to take progress pictures. And then before I know it, I was in the United States bloated as f***. So it is what it is. I took some before pictures. They're terrible. I'm not going to make you lose your appetite, but I'll compare them with the before and after pictures. I think the after pictures will be even worse. Yeah, I think that will be even worse. So at least the camera's back a little bit so you can see my delts, and we'll have to take it from there. So that is the blood work review. Let's go over the diet, what I'm running right now, because that's a little bit more calories than before. So no more 2,500 calorie bikini diet. Right now we're going to eat and grow. Hell yeah. I'm not going to use retatrutide or tirzepatide to block my appetite. I'm just going to eat the old-fashioned way and eat into it, because I've been in caloric restriction for years now and I'm kind of sick of it. So that chapter is closed for the next 6 months. So here's the diet for the days that I work out at 9 o'clock in the evening. Wake up at 12, get my emails and injections and coffee out of the way. And then at 2 o'clock, I do a fasted cardio, 20 to 30 minutes, 130 to 135 beats per minute on the elliptical and the treadmill split. However I feel that day. Then meal one will be 3 o'clock, 8 egg whites, 4 whole egg whites, 100 grams of kale, 100 grams of green beans, and 2 milliliters extra virgin olive oil cooking spray on top of the kale and green beans. And then I throw that into the air fryer for as long as it takes for my egg whites and whole eggs to cook. And then I lay myself a bed of vegetables with the egg whites and egg yolks scrambled on top with some chia seeds, salt, and copious amounts of ketchup because it's off-season, baby. All right, 5:30, meal 2, and 8 o'clock, meal 3. It's exactly the same, 250 grams of chicken, 100 grams of kale, 100 grams of green beans, 2 milliliters extra virgin olive oil, and 30 grams mixed these nuts for 15 grams of fat. So those two I will slay before I go to the workout. So normally I would have some sort of pre-workout cocktail, right? Guarilla malt nitric, essential amino acids, glycerol, beta-alanine here and there, creatine monohydrate. But I want to get away from that. I just want to eat some real food and not rely too much on supplements. I can't believe that I'm saying this. Not rely too much on supplements. Just have real food, because this food digests the best for me. And I just felt that, with the pre-workout shake that I was having, that it was just sitting in my stomach. And I tried to manipulate it a little bit by taking the glutamine out for a while, which I do need. So I take that before bed. I forgot to add that to this list. And then I would take the creatine out for a while, or take the pre-workouts, the guarilla malt nitric out for a while. I tried various iterations of a pre-workout shake, but all of them weren't really sitting well in my stomach. So I just decided to take that out and let my stomach rest a little bit and just eat real foods, and then sprinkle in the supplements and the ancillaries and whatnot. On top, those are just small tablets. 9 o'clock, do my workout. Then 11 o'clock, I have 300 grams of salmon and a tablespoon of chia seeds with, let's say, 500 grams of mixed fruits. So that's 200 grams of pineapple, 200 grams of watermelon, and 100 grams of blueberry. Oh no, post-workout blueberries with a lot of antioxidants. Never going to grow. And then at 1 o'clock in the morning, I'll have 250 grams of beef, 50 grams of chicken, 2 whole eggs, and 500 grams of salad vegetables. So that's a total of 3,400 calories per day. Yes, baby. Let's see, 400 grams of protein, 130 grams of carbs, 80 grams of fiber, and 150 grams of fat. And I do the exact same meals on the days that I work out in the morning, but then I have meal 1 at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't do any fasted cardio. I work out at 3, then I have 2 chicken meals, then the salmon meal with the fruit, but I'll probably have the fruit post-workout, unless I'm still a little bit shell-shocked from the workout. Then I'll probably have my carbs a little bit later in the day. And then 1 o'clock in the evening, I'll have my usual beef, chicken, and egg meal. So I might make some small iterations, but I'll aim for about 3,400 calories over the day. And then when I feel that I stall making progress, increase the food. I think with 1,100 milligrams anabolic androgenic steroids, 10 I use growth hormone, or even 18 I use growth hormone on certain days, and 1 milligram of Increlex 4 times a week, I think I can make enough progress without increasing the testosterone, androlone, tristolone, or anadrol. I think that stack is kind of solidified in stone until Christmas. But the only thing that I will increase is the food. So if I feel that I'm either not getting as strong as fast as I expect, or I'm just stalling in the gym, or I'm getting leaner at one point, which is difficult because right now I'm like 15% body fat. So how much of a fluctuation can you see there? I'll notice from my lower back. If my lower back starts to get a little bit watery and flabby and soft, then I'm probably getting leaner and I need to bump up the calories, and I'll make the adjustments on the fly depending on how I'm doing carbohydrate-wise and fat-wise, depending on how that's digesting, right? So I'll have to see a couple of weeks from now what's going to happen, but it wouldn't surprise me if I just stick on this exact protocol and improve, not body composition-wise, but skeletal muscle-wise and gyno-wise from there. I'll keep doing the blood work. I'll keep you guys posted. This is going to be very exciting for me because I haven't done a bulk in a very, very, very long time. Keep those comments coming on my face and how round it is and how puffy I look. I love it. It's just part of the game. Embrace the fluff. I know you guys are scared to embrace the fluff, but this is how you have to make gains, man. And you see how much gains I made in the caloric deficit. So imagine how many gains I can make in a caloric surplus. All right, I'll leave it here. Thank you guys so much for watching. You can find everything that I'm associated with down below in the YouTube description section. Follow all of my sponsors and affiliates. They're all there. And if they're not there, you might be able to find some more over at vigoroussteve.com, where I got everything that I discuss on this video and every other video indexed for your easy convenience in the Control F source list. Yes, I put it public so you guys can stop asking me where to find this, where to find that. It's all indexed. Go over there and you'll be surprised how many directions all over the internet I can send you with discount codes so you can save yourself some money while shopping online. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video, dropping soon.